that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, you got me.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first round episode of the Cobb and Dash Show. You got me and you got Cobbs, just like I was in the beginning. Unfortunately, Cobb's not in the playoffs this year, but you know it's nice that he still stayed around. And you know, as a true co-host, regardless of wins and losses, he's still in for the show. And then that's dedication. That's I don't know what is dedication. That's not. But how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's a good time of the year. You know, it's been a while since I haven't been in the playoffs. But you know, it's nice to see some other people get a shot. We have some good new faces in the playoffs that we haven't seen in the playoffs for a while, and it's shaping up to be honestly anyone's season.
We also have some familiar faces too in the playoffs.
Yeah, I said
specifically on the bye week section. I'll pat myself on the back.
Yeah, not bad. You got to close it out.
Yeah, I gotta say, since you're not in the playoffs, I've noticed you kind of changed up your lower third there.
I changed that on last episode. I was actually just looking how to get rid of that.
That's great. We're gonna make that a WWB MVP in a couple of weeks here.
Right.
Actually, in a week.
Oof.
But we got some stuff to get into today. Obviously, you're going to do your chug. ZT has been not answering my calls all day, so he can't do his chug yet. But we'll make sure we'll get him on at some point, whether today or next week's episode. But some things to go over. So I spoke with the second seeded, the other bye week guy earlier. We had a little lunch in. It was an owners meeting. NFL has their owners meeting this week. You know, some of the higher ups of the BL Plus had an owners meeting today at Baja Fresh in Fairfax. Me and Stu. It's the with the winners eat. But anyway, we talked about this year was an amazing season. Obviously, it's not over yet. We still have a couple more weeks left, but the regular season's over. And the one thing we looked to was tanking. Tanking's never been an issue before. Because it stemmed from because Stu asked me how did Tasia like his first year and was he pissed off at not making the playoffs? And I said the only thing he didn't like was the fact that luck of the draw. His last 2 games of the season, he had played against teams who were in the playoffs, but then the guys who were also competing for the 5 and 6 spot, they were playing against teams who were tanking, like you, Roden, Ruben, like those types of teams, and Alex. And he said, obviously it's not fair, but we talked about how. Stu and I talked about how, we've never really had tanking before. And we got 4 teams who did it actively this year. Well, I don't know if actively, but I do know for sure you and Alex did kind of sell off your team. And Roden did get rid of Waddle too. Ruben, he wasn't taking, but that roster looked like he was taking from day one. But that was just unfortunate. But so we talked about how can we do this? How can we fix the idea of the tanking? So he brought up a good idea, and obviously this wouldn't happen in next year's draft. It would be retroactive for the following year if this were to pass. So we were taking more of an NBA draft lottery style, and that would be we go back a little ways here. I'm sure there's some computer system that does it that could do it for us, but we're gonna do it kind of. This is BL Plus. We like to have some fun. So what we were thinking was the bottom 6 teams. So the bottom 6 teams at the end of the year. We would do a Cobb and Dash Show episode. So it would be like this week next year. We would have a Cobb and Dash Show episode. So let's say, okay, I'll do it for you this way. I want to look at the current bottom 6 right now, see how many wins and losses they had. So I can do this actively. Okay. So let's go to this. All right. So Roden 3-11. Okay. Then you have Big Berry Content 4-10. Cobb 4-10, Ruben. Wow, geez, a lot of 4-10 teams. This would be interesting actually. Okay, then ZT 6-8, and then Suspenders 7-7. All right. So what Stu and I didn't want to give it we didn't want to do it and have the team who has the worst team. So let's say for example, Tasia 7-7 did make the playoffs. We didn't want him to have the highest chances of getting the number 1 pick because obviously he had a better team than the other teams, right? Since he was 7-7, you guys were 3-11. But here's how we do the draft lottery. So Roden had 11 losses. We get a hat or something, and we write on 11 pieces of paper Roden's name. You had the next 3 teams at 10 losses. I put 10 Cobbs on a bunch of different pieces of paper. Same with Ruben and same with Alex, all 10. And then ZT, I put 8 ZT things, and I put Tasia at 7 of those. So at that point, you have, I mean, it's more of it's a lottery. It's obviously not the same exact way the NBA does it. But at that point, I would pull out first one. That would be the 7th pick. So 7th pick, that would be between, I mean, it would be any of you guys. And obviously, the team is the worst. So the team that did the best job of tanking is Roden, 3-11. Roden would have his name out there 11 times. So he potentially could be the 7th pick, not so much the 8th pick or the first pick. Now, so, I mean, obviously the team has the worst 3-11. They have 11 losses. They would have the most amount of names in there. So they could potentially be the number 1 pick. Or it could potentially be the 7th pick, so the worst pick of all. But you still have Tasia, who has seven names in there as well. So Tasia has a big shot at being the 7th pick too. So I think it's a good way of trying to stop teams from tanking. That's what Stu and I talked about. We thought it was a cool way, a way as a system that's already been in play in the NBA. Obviously not the same exact way they do it, but still. So that's the way we thought of it. Stu thought maybe we doing a consolation bracket, but that wouldn't do anything because I don't think they would do anything at all and making it a bracket style for the teams that are in the last place. I think this would be a good way of doing it, and to also not give people who tank the best the number 1 pick. But that's how they can be voted on. But that was our way of what we talked about. What is your thoughts on hearing that, Cobb?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on that. First is that we actually do something similar in my other keeper league. For the last few years, we've randomized the draft order, so you can't really tank. The issue with that was that in the last 2 years, the person who won the league ended up getting the first overall pick, which is a huge disaster. But obviously, like, there's things we're trying to put in place now where, similar to this, the lower seeds get higher odds. They're not locked in for the first pick, but they do have higher odds of getting that pick. And, I think it's fair. I've heard other owners want this for a while, but I know feedback on that rule and a lot of other rules has always been that this league follows as closely to the NFL as possible. There's been several rules in the past that have been rejected because of that. And I'm not saying for good or for bad, but I'm just saying that can't be used as a argument anymore for rule changes should this go through.
Okay, and that's why I like this better than the consolation bracket that Paul and Tage are pushing for. I like the lottery aspect because we try to go off professional league, we try to go off the NFL. We're going by the NBA, still a professional league that we like to we like the big leagues, and still going by an NBA or NFL type rule. And I think that's cool because it tries to it tries to make people not want to tank as much to make their team as bad. We're like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have if I go 0-14, I'm gonna have my name there 14 times. There's a bigger chance I'm gonna be the first name pulled out of that hat. And I'll be a 7th pick. Whereas if I play till the end, like Tasia 7-7 or ZT 6-8, I'll have less names in that bucket. You know what I mean? But I don't know why you guys would be. I don't know why they're saying a no way there, Tasia. I mean, I don't understand why it's a no way.
I also think this is like you said, this is the first year that we've seen something like this. We could probably go back to other seasons and see teams that were just as bad at the end of the season. I get it. I get the argument. I'm just, I think it's something that we need to go to the drawing board and think of a good.
I mean, I'm probably any way to try to stop the and also too, and I want to let you guys know as well. The team who has the worst record still is going to do regardless of what we do with this lottery thing or consolation bracket. The team has the worst record on this day will still do the pancake. So,
and that's another thing is, I mean, that's kind of what the punishment was for, right? And I mean, Alex's plan was to get last, which the pancake thing is awful. I'm about to go do it, and I'm not.
What?
I got last in the league that I have to go do it. Yeah, it sucks. But coming from Stu and Adam, like, there's not a lot. I guess it's more of the line of people tanking and trying to get that second overall pick and third overall pick, which I may or may not have aimed for, and it ended up working out. I'm 100% in agreement that tanking, we should take the steps. We need to think about what would be the most fair. And again, the thing that's been constantly brought up with rule changes has been how much we try and align this league with NFL rules and things like that. And that's just something which again, I'm not saying that I want to keep that. I'm just saying that excuse or that argument goes out the window. Should we do this?
Yeah. And I will say this too. I say maybe this year was an anomaly. Maybe we just let it ride and see if there is tanking that goes on again next year. And also another thing too, what week do we have the trading picks thing?
Week 6, like it's early as hell. Like and the only reason Alex did it was his team. Like both of our teams were like I had the Broncos stacked, that was disgusting, and then Alex had the Rams, which was nasty. Like week 6 is still early as hell. And I mean, we saw picks that we've never seen traded in the season before, with Barry shelling out things for Cup, and then I was getting a high second for Mixon. Like those are things that we just haven't seen before, which is why I think it could be an anomaly.
Yeah, well, and also another thing Stu and I talked about too was potentially, okay, for example, you make the trading picks, the deadline week 4. Week 4 for teams 0-4, you still have a chance to make the playoffs. 0-4 is not dead, DOA yet. Or week 3, 0-3, no one knows. 1 and 2, you don't know if you're gonna. Everyone thinks they have a shot at week 3, so you're not shelling out picks. So I think there was a way we could maybe curb the whole trading picks thing instead of week 6 to make it go to week 3 or week 4. So then you also at the point you have to make a decision at 1 and 2. Do I have a team, or do I think I can make the playoffs with this team, or do I shell a team? Most people aren't going to shell out their big boys for picks at 1 and 2 or even 0 and 3 because there's a chance you can still make a run at 1 and 2 or 0 and 3. So that's also a potential too.
Week 6 is still early. Like I don't think the date is that big of an issue. It's the fact that we haven't, and maybe we can lock how high of a pick you can give. We also have rules in place where owners trade their picks, they're locked into buy-in for the next year, which is another, like, I don't know. We have things in place. I more on the side of this year was kind of an anomaly on it. But I do think the majority of owners would want some sort of weighting system on the top picks in like the draft order. I know that's what I've talked to owners about it before, people who have been more interested in that. We've kept it a little more traditional up until now. And I don't know if this is just a jerk reaction or if something that would actually make that, like, if it's really worth doing.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I thought, because Tage was talking to me about the tanking, he's just ridiculous. I'm like, dude, I'll tell you what, this has never happened in this league before. This year was the first year that not only more than one team did it. I mean, not only one team, we had multiple teams do it, and we never even had that before. One team just tanked. I mean, you'll see a tanking when a team's like 2 and 6 or 1 and 9. We're like, dude, my team blows like that. This is it. Like, and by that point, usually trade deadlines pass at that point. So it's like, I don't know. It's just I feel like I also don't want to install a rule where if that's a 1-year thing, we won't see it next year. Because generally, this league is competitive up until the end. We only had 17 teams that were really competing for playoffs after the last month, really. ZT didn't tank, but he was on the 8th spot. But I feel like the bottom 3 definitely, Roden, you, and Alex tanked for sure.
Yeah, I would have been interested to see if Adam and Stu both had a bad season, if they would have tanked, to see if that Pancake King punishment would have deterred them from doing it. We didn't really get to see that.
That's true.
But and it's like, I don't know. I think it's a keeper league. It's not quite dynasty, but teams shouldn't be I feel like we're maybe not penalizing might not be the right term, but building for the future is something you should be able to do. And I don't want to completely get rid of that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every rule that comes up is just like it's just the teams are in different positions than other teams. Some teams are competing. Some teams are like, I don't know, want to build for the future. And that's something I think shouldn't be punished.
Yeah.
And again, punish seems a little harsh, but still.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't fathom tanking. Even if my team was shit, I still want to win as much as possible. So I don't think I would tank. But also I haven't been in that position in a really long time. So, I forget what missing the playoffs feels like in this league. No, really, I'm being dead serious. But yeah, I mean, so Tejas brings up this spot of 16s, put $20 in for the constellation bracket winner. I mean, that's a cool idea, but I mean, what does that do as far as, would the teams that win get to choose where they actually, Cobb, your league, you guys do it where
you pick your draft.
You pick your draft spot. So let's say I don't want the number one pick, for example. I can choose the second pick if I want that.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I like is because being a keeper league, someone you can pick where you draft, and say I have a really good, keeper in the 4th. So ideally I would have a late 4th round pick, and that's a way that you can kind of set that up by being, and it's like we do a randomized thing to determine the order of picking, and then people just pick wherever they want.
Okay, so
it's an interesting concept. I've liked it. There hasn't been much issue other than the last 2 years. The team that won ended up getting the first overall pick, which is we've put stuff in place now, but that's not going to happen anymore. That was just on us to.
Well, I think for our league, we would, the playoff teams would sit in it. I think the bottom 6 would kind of get to do that, and I think you could do that based on the consolation bracket, where the consolation winners. Champion, obviously, he's probably going to want to be the first pick of the consolation, but that's also, I think, it's bullshit too, though, because you have teams that were really bad. Let's say you weren't tanking, but your team was just ass, and the team that misses out on the playoffs at 7-7, he's going to get the number 1 pick. I mean, and then he'll just be a playoff team the next year out.
That's a risk we need to think about, and like the pick order works if all 12 draft picks are open. So, like in this case, the playoff teams would get the last 6 picks. They're not going to be incentivized to pick that 6th pick over like the 3rd.
Yeah.
For instance, so that I don't think it would work in this league with how I think we're where we're at.
Yeah. I think lottery is the best system to go in. If we did like an NBA style lottery, because obviously the teams in the NBA, the worst teams have the highest chances of getting the number 1 pick, but they're not locked to get the number 1 pick. I think doing that system would be a nice happy medium from going from the NFL to the NBA, but kind of keeping the same NFL rules, and also still giving a higher chance for the Rodens and the Cobbs and the Alexes to get the number 1 pick, but also not rewarding them necessarily, saying, "Oh, you're locked in at a 3rd pick because you had the 3rd worst record." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be fine with the lottery system if we can try to model and mimic what the. Because what we're talking about, having the 11 names for Road and 10 names for you, how is the whole ball? I never really understood the NBA draft lottery. I just knew the Sixers when we tanked. I just remember we were the worst team, so there was the highest chance we were going to get the number 1 pick. But I mean, how does that work, and how can we try to mimic that for ourselves? We wanted to do that.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, unless we just got to I actually have a ton of ping pong balls. You actually bought them, Key. You just write their names on a bunch of ping pong or slips of paper. You put them in a bag or a hat. We'll obviously, like I saw in the comments, something that would be broadcasted live.
Of course, we'll do it on the show, guys.
Yeah, and you pick out names, and then it's that simple. You just need to write a bunch of names down. And I don't know if it's an interesting idea with the amount of losses you have is how many entries you get.
Yeah.
You could also adjust it where last place gets X amount every year, second to last gets X amount, kind of weighted that way as well.
I think that's the NBA does, right?
Yeah. So maybe there's also lottery machines. We can get some next year's buy-in. Part of that goes towards that. I don't know. I haven't Googled or checked on Amazon what a lottery machine costs.
Me doing like a shuffle and picking out a ball. I mean, that's we don't need to buy anything extra. I can just do that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Paul, I don't like you saying that would be corrupt. I'm not a corrupt commish. I'm actually, I go, I'm a bottom line guy, and I do what's best for the league. Okay, no corruption. What? We have checks and balances. Yeah, kidding me? I had the most pushback of the fucking any commission's ever gotten, actually. So there's no corruption going on. And no, Tasia, Larry's fine. I like constellation bracket tournament because you're still depending on players' performance to decide to pick. Yes, but there's a huge your team at the 7th spot is a huge difference from the team at the Rodens team, for example. There's a huge shift in as far as players' performance. So in giving the number one pick the better team. That's not really fair. I don't see it as being fair at all. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm still in the mindset that it's 1 year, and I don't want to make your reaction based off of 1 year. Because again, like we can keep saying, never been a problem before this year. And again, people have it in other leagues where they do this and they like it. It's just I don't know. I don't know if we want to wait a year and see how it goes, but it seems like a lot of owners are against that, which is fine. We run a democracy here.
Well, and I like louder proportions as well. I think I think doing like the NBA way, the 12 gets this amount of balls, 11 gets this amount of balls, 10 gets this amount of balls, 9 gets this amount of balls, and so forth. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and we can obviously vote. We can obviously vote on what people think, but I don't want to. I don't want to do the tournament, and the 7th seed dominates Roden's team, or obviously the 7th seed as the best team, right? So he was a game out of the playoffs. Why does he get the number one pick all of a sudden? I mean, he was.
I also think the tournament is something that deters people from building. Like, again, people trading for future assets, like it's making their team worse. And that's, again, they should, especially if it's later in the season, picks aren't involved. They're trading players for potential keepers. Like, their starting roster is now going to be worse for that tournament. And then they're going to be punished for doing that kind of. So, I don't know. I would need to hear more about the tournament. I'm not super sold on it.
Paul, the lambasting because at the time tanking was not an issue. We didn't have trust the process. We didn't have a million trust the process teams over here. Okay, we now have fucking 100 now. Back in the day, we didn't really have that. So, like cook for Olave.
That's such a bad what? Olave's gonna be. That's trash. Let's move on. Olave is better than Cook long term. Get out of here. Yeah.
Well, Stu and I were talking about that. Stu said it's going to go down in history as one of the worst trades ever because you're banking on the Saints finding a quarterback. Who's going to be their guy, dude?
Better than Dalton.
What?
Better than Dalton. I mean,
well, you hope so.
Yeah.
Paul Stradamus, all right.
Paul Stradamus.
Pretty beastly, man. All right, so we're gonna get into before we get to Cobb's Chug. We're gonna we kind of alluded to it, but we want to give a shout out to our guy David Roden, the Pancake King. In fairness to him, he didn't tank as hard as Cobb or Alex, but yet he still is our Pancake King at 3-11. He went all in on the Tampa Bay Stackaneers and just did not work out for him. Roden in the last 2017, I believe he won the championship, or 2017 he won the championship, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Because it was Roden, you, me, and then Hodge. Yeah.
So I mean, within the last 5 years, I mean that's how hard it is to win and have consistent winning seasons in this league. This guy went to the championship, won, played me again the following year, lost, and then he played you, right? Did he play you in the championship?
I beat him for my first championship, yeah.
I mean, unreal. He went to 3 straight championships, and now he's the Pancake King. That's how fast things can change for you. That's why he also did a lot of trades with Hodge, so maybe he'll learn from his mistakes because the guy had a great roster. Trade with Hodge, done. That's how fast. And 3 championships in 5 years, and now look at us in 2022. The guy is Pancake King. Excited to see what he can bring at the Pancake King. I think he'll probably be going to the same IHOP that Adam went to because he does live in Arlington, and I believe there's only that the one that IHOP in Boston, I believe. So he'll be going to that one. So I'm sure if he just brings up the guy from last year who stayed there eating pancakes, I'm sure they'll remember Adam, and I'm sure they might move him to the waiting room area as well. So gonna be excited to see Dave do his pancakes, and he may never want to tank again because I've heard it's awful. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, you know what? And I think also, too, I think maybe if more people experience the Pancake King, maybe they won't want to tank. And, maybe people are getting word. Maybe, I don't know. In proportion to next week's episode, break down the tanking teams. Yeah, we could definitely do that next week. Although next week is when the big boys are coming to play, so I don't know. I think we might have to take a portion now to talk about me and Stu for a little bit. But seems like Alex who sold Cup and got a bunch of picks has 0 options, and now he has to trade those assets to collect picks. Pointless.
Oh, I'm not defending Alex at all.
Yeah,
that's awful.
Alex is going to have to trade all the picks he got, or at least some of those picks he got, to get keepers this year. So
yeah, I feel bad for Roden for having to get that Pancake King. He didn't deserve it.
I know. And that's the thing. Alex, I remember it was a couple of weeks ago. He was like, I actually don't want the number 1 pick anymore. I want to get that. I want to have the 2nd pick. And I'm also going to root for against Barry to lose in the first round. So we already have our first reverse jinx. Alex has already put it out there that he wants Hodge to win and beat Barry. So like, you already got somebody in your corner. You want somebody to fall for you to get a better pick. Hodge might lose. We got Alex on your side. Alex has not been known to be good when it comes to December in the BL Plus. So having Alex on your side is not a good thing. So, yikes. All right, but now we're gonna go. You want to say anything to Roden? Roden's Pancake King season.
Yeah, unfortunate. We know this. He's a good owner. Like you just said, he had a great run a few years ago, and last couple seasons haven't been the best. But I think Roden bounced back. I'm right there with I feel sorry. Like I feel for him because I also have to do the IHOP thing. So this year. And we'll truly find out how bad it is.
And it's crazy to see. You have looking at the bottom 6. You have 2 teams that have won the championship within the last 5 years. At least one championship in the last 5 years that are in the bottom of the league right now. And it's just going to show you championship windows. They don't last forever, guys. They do not last forever. Maybe 2 seasons like Cobb, but they don't last forever. So enjoy it. I know I'm not taking it for granted. I love being in the top 3 every year, and I'm not taking it for granted. I'm enjoying the run, enjoying the ride. So when you find a nucleus of guys, stick with it. Don't try to ship them off to win a championship in 1 year because you may not win that year like you last year.
Yeah, but the previous year I did the same thing and won. So yeah, and I mean, being down here, it's a learning experience to not trust Russell Wilson ever again. And just it's things that you can build upon. Adam, worst team last year in the playoffs, didn't get a bye. We also picked him a lot to be out of the playoffs this year, but he's there and he has a shot. His team's coming in hot, so it's I think it was the highest score last week.
Adam's been the last 5 weeks he's been the high scorer. So
exactly. So
he's trending in a really good direction right now.
Yeah. So things can change quickly.
All right. Okay. So now we're gonna go to sorry, buddy. It's time.
I know punishments. Might as well.
So we're gonna go to the lowest score of the week chug from week 13, presented to you by Marksberry Fitness. It's 2 weeks away from New Year's Eve, guys. I think it's time for you to get your guy ready for the new year because apparently he's got a lot of good things coming for the new year, 2023. MPB Fitness might be back. I don't know for sure. Paul might know more than any of us because he said that the MPB Fitness might be started at Paul's house, actually. That's where I'm hearing that where MPB Fitness is going to Paul's place, and MPB Fitness is going to be coming in hot in 2023. So, it's presented to you by Marksberry Fitness.
One of my favorite exercises to do with the resistance band is the hammer curl. The way we're going to do this is we're going to bring up the resistance band all the way up to our chest, and then we're going to be slow on the negative down. So in a full motion, it should look like this.
I love the noise in the background. You got the kids like screaming and stuff. Good stuff. All right, so Cobb, what do you got for us? Let's talk to us about what you got.
Got a nice DC Brow Pilsner. Being in DC, figured I'd go local.
Smart.
And I so happen to have a DC Brow glass.
Ooh,
okay. My background so I can actually do this thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you already said MBB Fitness. It's MPB Fitness, Marcus Painberry Fitness, HQ, haha, part of the lease. I'm a client. Ooh, I like it. This is good stuff.
On camera. So there's no funny business.
We believe you, dude.
Oh, this is way over my keyboard. If I spill, I'll be so mad. Oh yeah, teach you guys how to pour some too. I fucked it up at the end. It's all right. All right. Cheers. Where's ZT? ZT's is not sending us in.
He hasn't responded, and he didn't pick up my calls.
All right.
All right, 3,
Fresh out of the fridge.
2, go. Damn, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's fast. What?
It's not a good glass to drink, like, chug out of.
No, I didn't look
on it.
What's going on here? Sorry, one last thing. Another idea to prevent Tank would be to expand playoffs to 8. No, absolutely not. A would take away the super team bye week advantage. B team. Okay, no, dude, we're not 8 teams. My ass. Okay, that's definitely not happening. Yeah, 18. What is this? A freaking like an elementary school league? Get out of here. No one's doing 8 teams, dude. You earn the right to be a bye team.
Over half the league into the playoffs kind of takes away from the privilege.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. No. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. You know what? I swear to God, I will take away lotteries. I'll leave. You guys can take all the fuck you want. All right. Like, I'm trying to help out the league by offering lottery. You're going to talk about 18 playoffs? Yeah. Spoken like a guy who just missed out on the playoff by 1 game. If your team could score more than 116, maybe you would maybe be in the playoffs right now, but you couldn't do that. All right, so we're going to go to our first matchups. And by the way, nice chug there, Cobb. You get the respect you deserve. These guys are talking about 18 playoffs while you're dominating the chug.
That's why I was doing it.
Ridiculous. All right, so we're going to start off so with only 2 matchups because the top 2 seeds have a bye. We're gonna go over the both of us will have our kind of go over the each matchup. There's only 2 matchups. So obviously I have the 1 seed. I got the bye. And then Stu got the 2 seed. He got bye. So I play the winner of the Hotch and Barry matchup, and Stu plays the winner of the Paul and Adam matchup. And honestly, all the teams in right now are all really good teams. So there's not like a one team that you want to play. Well, there really is one team I want to play in the matchup I'm playing. More like a team I don't want to play in the matchups that I'll be playing against. So we're gonna go with Paul versus Adam first, the 3 versus 6 matchup. Adam and Paul, both amazing seasons. Paul obviously has become a mainstay in the playoffs, so it's great to see him 3 seed back in and thriving. Okay, Cobb, you go over this one to start off with, and then I'll piggyback off. Then I'll do my.
Did Paul make the playoffs last year?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
Yeah, I think he was a 4-5 last year. I'll look that up here. You start. I'll look that up.
Yeah, no, this is a great matchup, and like we said earlier, I think all the teams in the playoffs legitimately have a shot.
You were right. He did not make the playoffs. Jesus.
Yeah, he was a mainstay. I was like,
what? Oh shit! Yeah, on paper though. Yeah, he was a collapse towards the end of the season. Never mind. Yeah. Never mind, Paul.
Well, welcome back to the playoffs for Paul then. But yeah, like we said in the beginning of the show, all 6 teams have a shot. With Paul versus Adam, I mean, Adam, like we said, he's steamrolling into the playoffs. He's getting hot at the right moment. And he's running into Paul, who has a little more experience at the top. Paul just said he thinks he missed the last 3 out of 5 seasons. But Paul's always been a competitive team with this 3-headed monsters of running backs. And it seemed to like Adam was starting to follow that blueprint because he got McCaffrey. He traded for Derrick Henry. And, we kind of bashed him throughout the season, but Adams ended up making it the playoffs. He had a weak showing earlier in the season where he seemed like a fake contender. And then he kind of shut us up and came right into the playoffs hot. So I'll stop talking on that and we'll get to the matchup. First, Dak versus Herbert. So this is Dak Herbert hasn't been looking to that great. He had a 34 3 weeks ago, but for the most part, he's always been in the 20s, low 20s. Dak's been in the same boat for the most part. But we do have Herbert against Tennessee. The projections are within a point of each other. I'm going to give Herbert the slight edge here. especially being at home. Tennessee's defense sucks. Secondary is awful. And Herbert finally has his weapons back. Fingers crossed, nothing that could hurt. I'll give Herbert the slight edge there. A.J. Brown against Stephon Diggs. I heard there might be a lot of snow coming into Buffalo. It's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown. He's been dominating as of late. I'm going to give this one a wash. I think they've both been – I mean, they're both wide receiver ones. They've both have had amazing years. I'll give that one a wash. Jonathan Taylor versus McCaffrey. Jonathan Taylor's come on a little bit more than he had in the beginning of the year. And he's finally getting back to the double digits. He is going against Minnesota, who isn't – I don't think has the best run defense. And McCaffrey, now that Debo's down, I think McCaffrey's going to get a lot more looks. So I'm going to have to give McCaffrey the slight edge there. Njoku versus Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is another guy that started off pretty hot and then has kind of been doing nothing. Meanwhile, Njoku, he had 16 last week. I don't know. I'm going to give that – this is tough. I want to say Mark Andrews just because he's a better player. But statistically, none of them have really been doing – I mean, Njoku, yeah, he had the 16 last week, but other than that, he hadn't done a ton. I'm going to see wash there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't think – if you told me in the beginning of the season I'd say Njoku and Andrews was a wash, I wouldn't have believed you. Derrick Henry going against Devonta Smith. Actually, surprisingly good matchup. And I do like that Paul kind of has a counteracting receiver where Adam has A.J. Brown. If Devonta Smith gets a touchdown, that's a touchdown that didn't go to A.J. Brown. I don't know if it's going to happen. But, it's a interesting – I don't want to say tactic. Interesting matchup there. I'm going to give Derrick Henry just going against the Chargers. Chargers run defense is awful. The defense did look really good last week, but I do not think they're going to keep it up. And Derrick Henry's he's Derrick Henry. Isaiah Pacheco versus Keenan Allen. This is also an interesting one. I'd actually be interested to see if Pacheco's one guy that you kind of really wish you had on your team because he's been looking pretty good. And one of the few Chiefs guys that you got McKinnon, but yeah. One of the few Chiefs guys you don't have, but damn, I'm going to give Keenan Allen the edge there. Keenan Allen, since coming back from injury, has looked really good. And just giving that Herbert stack against Tennessee, especially because Tennessee's secondary sucks, give Allen the edge there. Jerry Jeudy versus Peoples-Jones. A lot of people have been hyping up Donovan Peoples-Jones. And, eventually you're going to have to he's been doing well all season. Jerry Jeudy hasn't really, he's been injured, and he just had the 3 touchdown game. I don't know if Sutton's supposed to come back or not. That would probably dictate whether or not I like Jeudy, but 3 touchdowns for Russell Wilson, unfortunately, is an anomaly this year. That's not going to happen again. I'm going to give Peoples-Jones. I think I'm going to give him the slight edge over Jeudy, just because I'm done with that Broncos offense. So this is a insanely close matchup. Great first round matchup. I think I'm going to give Paul right now. Yahoo has him losing. I think I'm going to give Paul the win here just for that stack going against Tennessee. I think that's going to be the thing that pushes him over Adam to advance to the second round.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, I'll go do my play-by-player. So Herbert and Dak Prescott. Jacksonville is just like one of those teams, man, where they've been susceptible to get dominated on the air this year. Dak had a really bad game last week, so I could see a bounce back for him, but I'm going to go wash on this one. Pretty much it is a wash based on the projections here. A.J. Brown, Diggs, I'll go A.J. Brown. I believe the potential Saturday night accumulation is going to be about 11 inches of snow. So any kind of passing attack in 11 inches of snow. I think Josh Allen and Diggs are just kind of like null this week. I mean, you obviously have to start those guys. Unless you're Hotch and you have Justin Fields as your backup. Thanks, Cobb. You gotta go. You gotta go Justin Fields instead of Josh Allen. But yeah, obviously if you have Josh Allen, if you have a better option, go somebody else. But Diggs, you got to go Diggs. That's his guy. So you got to hope for, Diggs to have, broken coverage if someone falls in the snow and he's wide open or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's tough. But I'll go AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor at McCaffrey. Here's the one thing I'm going to say about this matchup. We're going to know real fast going into Sunday, I think, if Paul's going to win, because Paul's going to have Diggs, Taylor, Andrews, Peoples-Jones, Tucker, Roquan Smith, 6 guys by the time the game starts on Sunday. And Adam will only have McCaffrey and Njoku, and that's it. So, I mean, tonight, Paul's going to be a big-time Seattle fan tonight against McCaffrey. It's going to be huge. What kind of game McCaffrey's going to have might kind of lend a hand as to how this game's going to go. But obviously, Paul's going to be rooting for some big-time scoring on the Saturday games, so he'll be closely tapped into those games. I'm going to go guys, you guys are really evenly matched. I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor and McCaffrey. I'm going to go wash on that one because I think McCaffrey will be able to be bottled up in Seattle. At Seattle, I think Seattle's actually going to win this game tonight, so I think Seattle will end up bottling up San Francisco's attack. I think it's Brock Purdy's first away game in his small little tenure. So they may lean on McCaffrey, but playing primetime game in Seattle, it's going to be a loud one. I do think CMC gets bottled up tonight. No Debo, so you can kind of hone in on really Kittle and CMC tonight. So I think McCaffrey will be taken out of this game, especially with Pete Carroll being a defensive guru. And then and I think Jonathan Taylor, but that's the thing about Colts too. They're a one-trick pony. They really only have the running game, and that's it. So I'm gonna go wash on that one. Again, Andrews and Njoku. Oh boy, man, that might be another wash for me, to be quite honest with you. Here's what I will say in regards to Mark Andrews. I don't know if Huntley's playing this weekend, but if it's not Huntley, if it's not Huntley, I think that was the quarterback who came in last week, like Anthony Brown or some shit like that. Anthony St. Brown, I think his name is. Those young guys like to check down a tight end, so I think he could have a big game target wise, and maybe have like an 8 for 60 kind of game. I'm gonna go slight lean to Andrews, but I think this is not really anything to write home about. I mean, I don't think the game's gonna come down to Mark Andrews and Njoku. Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry. I'll go Derrick Henry on that one. So the first decisive one, I go to Derrick Henry. Keenan Allen, Pacheco. I'll go slight Keenan Allen on this one. I like Pacheco, but Pacheco is really non-existent in our passing game. As you saw, Jerick McKinnon is our passing down back. We like to throw the ball more than we like to pass the ball, but that's the one thing. A lot of Chiefs fans are upset that we're not running the ball as much as we should. 13 carries last week for Pacheco when he was averaging like 6 yards a carry. They just went away from the run game. And McKinnon's mainly the pass down back. Pacheco's not really much of a blocker, so he's really not in there on third downs. I think Keenan Allen, obviously they've been winning since he's been back. Herbert's been peppering him with targets. I think Keenan Allen could have a really ridiculously good game on Sunday. So I'm going to go Keenan Allen here. And hey, that trade he did with Tasia it helped him out in the end. And you got Keenan Allen for the in a stack for the long haul. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones versus Jerry Jeudy. There's a big chance that Denver is going to be rolling out without Sutton this weekend, and also without Russell Wilson. I believe what's his name? Brett Rippon's going to be the guy, unless Russ is clear from protocol, which usually you miss at least the next week. So probably Brett Rippon. Donovan Peoples-Jones, watching the Cleveland game last week, Deshaun Watson really loves Donovan Peoples-Jones. He targets him a lot. And plus, Amari Cooper is hindered with the hip injury. So Donovan Peoples-Jones, I'm going to go with DPJ on this one. You didn't really break down the defensive guys, but it's playoff time. And I'm going to go Justin Tucker is going to have a bigger game than Harrison Butker. I think we're going to score a lot of touchdowns this weekend, so I don't think there's going to be a big need for Butker this week. TJ Watt going up against Sam Darnold. Micah Parsons and TJ Watt will cancel each other out. I think TJ Watt might have a better game against Carolina than Parsons against Jacksonville. Roquan Smith, solid. Not really getting a lot of solo tackles, though. That's interesting. Shaq Thompson. Eesh. I'll go slightly into Shaq Thompson, actually. I mean, it looks like Roquan's relying on, like, sacks and interesting. And then, Yeah, you guys don't really have much going on defense besides the Watt and Parsons canceling each other out. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a close one, man. God. Who? I think Adam wins. I think Emily goes to the semifinals. Man. It's gonna honestly though, I won't be surprised if Paul wins because these matches are really close. I think Adam wins 152 to 144. I think it's gonna come down to those toss-ups that we have. It's going to come down to who does better with those in those toss-ups matches, the ones that are watches, because 7-point victory, man. Ooh, every point counts. And I think even the Tucker versus Butker matchup, I think that could even win the game for Paul. Because I don't think Butker's going to have a good game at all, and I think Tucker's always obviously, especially with a third-string quarterback in, there's going to be a lot of unfinished drives, getting down past midfield and just going relying on 40 yards and 50 yarders. So I can see that being a big reason why you win. But I'm going to go Adam 152 to 144 or 145. So it's going to be a good one, man. It's a really good game. Seeing the amount of Saturday games and Thursday night games between these two teams, we're going to know a little bit about that semifinals game. You're about to say something?
It's just weird that there's I don't remember there being Saturday games this early.
There was like maybe 1 or 2 in the past. Crazy next week for Christmas, there's only 3 games on Sunday. Most of their games are Saturday next week.
Wow.
I know. I know. And unfortunately for me, the Chiefs don't play on Sunday. They play on Saturday. I don't get my comeback special. All right. So Adam wins in our projection here. But wouldn't be surprised if Paul wins. And quite frankly, I'd be okay with either one of these guys going forward. I love both these guys.
You play with the winner of this one? Or
no.
Stu
plays the winner of this one. And Stu was saying actually earlier he doesn't want to play either one of them. He said the only person he did not want to play was Hosh. So he said he was happy Hosh in the other bracket, which whatever. I like being the 1 seed. It's a good stat to rely on. I've been 1 seed the last 4 years. But okay. So we're gonna go Barry versus Hosh for the next one. Cobb, let's do the honors and begin that one.
This is I love this matchup off of like the player by player, just the owner by owner matchup here.
True.
Just because Barry, he's been getting crap all year about that Cup trade. Deservedly so. I think we can say now. And Hotch, on the other hand, I don't know if Hotch doesn't watch this show. He's not, and Barry's not. Like, these are two owners that distance themselves from the Cobb and Nash show. These are two owners that I don't think deserve to go to the semifinals, honestly. And it's but I also know that Hotch, if he lost to Barry, it's something that would eat at him. With how his team looks and how he feels, like he almost kind of, he's 8-6 like that. He didn't walk into the playoffs.
Not at all. And
if Barry was able to beat him there, I know that would eat at him, and I think all of us would. That would be kind of funny. And Barry, on the other hand, like, he needs this. He has his whole next 2 years investment into this offseason or this postseason. And I guess we'll find out real quick if he can keep at it. I don't know. Keep on keeping on, as he likes to say. So going matchup to matchup, Josh Allen against Ryan Tannehill. We saw Kyler Murray tore his ACL last week against the Patriots. Very unfortunate. And all season, every time I talked to Barry about fantasy, it was always your team's only going to go as far as Kyler's going to take you. Kyler's ACL is out. And this is going to be, it might be a rude awakening for Barry, this matchup, because he's meeting Hodge here. Josh Allen's easy over Tannehill. Justin Jefferson against Devontae Adams. Really good matchup on paper. I give it Justin Jefferson just because Devontae Adams is going against New England. New England's going to focus in on getting covering Devontae Adams. I think they were all over D-Hop. I don't think we played DeAndre Hopkins, I think 5 times, and he does not have a receiving touchdown. That just speaks to how the Patriots go against their star or covering the other team's star. Dalvin Cook against Austin Eckler. I'm going to take Austin Eckler there against Tennessee. Bad defense. Dalvin Cook hasn't been doing anything the last couple weeks. Or he's been he had a 16 2 weeks ago. But other than that, like he hasn't been his old self. But the Vikings also, I think, aren't as good as their record indicates. And we'll see if it might be a control game against Indy. I don't know, but I'm going to give Eckler the edge there. Hawkinson versus Okonkwo. I'm going to give Okonkwo is kind of key. 17-10. Just I don't know. It's probably going to be a wash. They're both going to get probably close enough points to each other. I'm going to give that a wash just because, I mean, Hawkinson hasn't really blown up since being on the Vikings. Okonkwo has a key last 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm going to give that a wash. Tyreek Hill versus Waddle is, that's a great matchup. Unfortunately for Miami, they are going to Buffalo. It's going to be, we're just talking about the weather there. It's going to be interesting to see how that impacts their offense. Unfortunately for Hotch, Hill has been the guy on that offense. They both had Waddle's had amazing weeks, but it's always been Hill. So I'm going to give Hill the edge there. Jamar Chase versus Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is a guy that Barry, for some reason, benched a few weeks ago. He ended up losing that week, and I think he learned his lesson. Miles Sanders had a great year. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to give Jamar Chase the edge there, just because Jamar Chase, even coming back from injury, came back and he dropped to 25 last week. He looked just as good. It's just not that Sanders is bad. Jamar Chase is just at another level. Mixon against Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know. You're probably a better one to speak on this. I think this is a pretty close matchup. Mixon, he had that wild, what was it, the 6 touchdown game. But since then, he hasn't done anything. So, I mean, he was injured for 2 of the games. But Tampa Bay's run defense also isn't something to just, laugh at. I think the run defense is still solid. So it's tough. I want to give this one a wash, honestly. I think they're going to both get around 10 points, maybe around that area. So I think they're going to be really close. So I'm going to surprisingly give that a wash. And I don't know if you want me to go through the kickers and the defense. I think it's a complete crapshoot. We'll go Badgley, the Detroit kicker against the Jets versus Sanders, Buffalo. I'm going to give it to Badgley there. Being in New York, not up in Buffalo where there's going to be snow. Jets defense is stingy. A lot of drives that are going to fall short. I don't even know how these defensive players are going to do. I'm not going to go through the defensive players. I'm going to go through. Just click.
Fair.
But here I'm going to. Honestly, this would have been a more interesting matchup if Kyler Murray was healthy and actually doing something. Unfortunately for Barry, he has Ryan Tannehill in as quarterback now, and I'm gonna give Hodge the win here. I think this is where Barry's season unfortunately ends.
Do you have a projection?
Oh, I forgot to give a projection on the last game. I'll give it 145 to 127 for Hodge.
Wow, you think it's gonna be a blowout?
That's not up. That's less than 20 points.
18. Well, yeah, okay. All right, so I'll go here. I actually do think the defensive special teams is actually pretty key in this matchup. Actually, okay. So Josh Allen versus Miami in the snow, 10 inches of snow. Ryan Tannehill, Chargers. So I actually had a conversation this week with Barry about his quarterback situation because remember when he went out on Monday night. So I immediately texted him. I was like, dude, you need to pick up Mike White, and so he's like, yeah, I got some guys, and then I was like, okay, well, who are you thinking about? Didn't tell me. So then I see on Wednesday when the transactions happen, Mike White gets picked up by Hodge. Hodge spent $10 on him, so Barry could not get him. So that's hey man, champion, dude. That's the reason why he's won it 3 times. He's a savvy vet. He knows how to get grimy. He knows how to be, he knows how to maneuver things. Let's say I'm not the biggest Tannehill fan, but Chargers defense susceptible, very susceptible to getting dominated. And I could see that, and I do think he's playing against a Josh Allen in 10 inches of snow. I'm gonna go I'm going to go Tannehill over Josh Allen. If he actually does leave Josh Allen in there, I'm going Tannehill. I mean, obviously things can change, but I'm going Ryan Tannehill over Josh Allen in the snow. 11 inches of snow, dude. You don't, especially when you have a backup. He has another guy, and I'm not going to say who it is, but obviously we know who it is. He has another guy who you gave him that he could put in there, who's probably going to play this weekend, not in 11 inches of snow, a foot of snow. So, like, and they say the wind's going to be a rough Saturday night too. So, like, we're not talking like a day game in the snow. We're talking about like a Saturday night, winds going, a foot of snow. It's going to be bad. So I'm going Ryan Tannehill slightly in this one. Are you smirking? I mean, I think John. I think.
I don't think it's going to impact him as much as.
Oh, I think 3 to 5 points. I think Tannehill will win by 3 to 5 points. Okay, then Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. One thing we know about the Patriots is they'll eliminate your best option, and that could be Devontae Adams. Well, that would be Devontae Adams. And I do think the Patriots are going to dominate Josh McDaniels. I think Belichick just knows how to beat him. And I'm just going to go. But I will say this, though. This is an interesting stat. Colts, I believe, give up the lowest or near the lowest points to wide receivers. So, and Stephon Gilmore is in a slouch. And take away the fumble that DeAndre Hopkins had last week. DeAndre Hopkins had a really good game. I think got 14 or 15. Devontae Adams, much better receiver than Hopkins. He can do a little bit more. So I'm going to go Devontae Adams on this one over Jefferson. This one going to be more of a bigger deal, I think, than the quarterback situation. I think the quarterback can be a wash essentially because the whole snow kind of evens it out for Tannehill. But I go Devontae Adams here. Dalvin Cook and Eckler. Say what you will about the Tennessee's defense, but as far as running backs, we're talking about just, as far as how much points they've given up to running backs this year. They're top 10 defense as far as giving up points to running backs, so that they're actually pretty good against stopping the running backs. I think fifth overall this year or sixth. And then on the other end, you got the Colts or Dalvin and the Colts. I think Dalvin has an okay game. I think Dalvin will meet his projection of 15.59. I mean, I don't think they're going to stop Eckler because Eckler can catch the ball in the backfield. And actually, the other Chargers actually released a really funny video on getting him to the Pro Bowl this today. Actually, was like a political ad on how the NFL doesn't want Austin Eckler to make the Pro Bowl. But I think it's gonna be more of a wash. But I think Cook's gonna have a better game than Eckler, but like within a point or two. I don't think it's gonna be that significant. So Barry right now he's kind of dominating. And then we got Hawkinson versus Okonkwo. So Barry, the reason why he's a big fan of Tannehill this week was because of his tight end edition. He got the stack. I'm not joking. That was one of his reasons for the Tannehill and Okonkwo additions this week. Okonkwo, not bad. I'm a fan. Hawkinson, solid. But like he hasn't really done a lot with Minnesota since he's been there. 9-6. I mean, more consistent. At least we know what he can get. In worst case, Okonkwo, we don't know really what his worst case is. Thankfully, that they have a lot of guys who are out in Tennessee, so there's a chance that some of these guys could pan out. But I'm gonna go wash there. Waddle and Tyreek Hill, snow game. I think both these guys are not gonna meet their projections here. And I do think the one who will have a better game because Tyreek Hill did play in Kansas City. It's cold there. Waddle has not played in any. He's only played in Miami and Alabama. So I do think Tyreek Hill has a better game because I think they're gonna give him the ball more. And find unique ways to get him the ball. So I'm going to go Tyreek Hill beats Waddle here. Chase and Miles Sanders. Chicago has given up top 4 rushing points to running backs this year. I think fourth most points to running backs. Miles Sanders has been eaten. But then you also, on the other hand, you got Tampa, they're not bad when it comes to against receivers. But I will say this: looking at the spread of that game, you might have Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay might win that game. So I think you can have a low scoring game in that one. I don't think Chase is going to blow it up. I think Miles Sanders wins that one. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be close. And then you got Mixon and Schuster. Shit, man. Man, that's tough. I think it's a wash. Yeah, I think wash there. Mixon maybe slight lead to Mixon. But and you've also seen a little more Samaje Perine. He's getting a lot more reps than he has been. I think maybe they're trying to like lighten Mixon's load since the concussion, and also as we get closer to the playoffs. So, all right, so then we're gonna go to the kicking situation. Give me Badgley. Detroit's got a great offense. Whether they will score or not, they may not score touchdowns, but they'll get across the 50. And Badgley will do all right against New York. Sanders, Buffalo. We're talking blizzard. I mean, you don't start a kicker in a blizzard. I don't know if Hotch has tinkered with his lineup yet, but he's got 2 more days to do it. So please, if you're watching this, don't remind Hotch to set his lineup. I want to see what he's got with Jason Sanders. And if you look at Jason Sanders' picture, it looks a lot like our guy Cobb over here. Yeah, he does. And then Jalen Petre versus Julian Love. I know our guy Paul's a big fan of Julian Love, but I'm going to go Petre. Petre's going against the Chiefs this week. Chiefs, like they're throwing their tight end, and I think Petre's going to have, he'll be the dude probably guarding Kelsey, so he'll get a lot of tackles in that. And we also throw the ball 40 times a game, so there you go. I'll go Petre there. You got Michael Walker, not a big fan, versus Myles Garrett. I love Myles Garrett this week. Myles Garrett versus a potential backup or third string in Baltimore, especially a team that likes to run the ball a lot. The quarterbacks that have him scrambling. Garrett could potentially have 2 to 3 sacks. Could be a game changing player in this matchup. So I'll go Myles Garrett there, and then Jaquan Brisker. I don't really know much about Jaquan Brisker. I do know Minka Fitzpatrick. Yeah, I didn't watch there. I'm not even going to do that one. So now I get to the projection here. I'm going to go Barry upset over Matt Hotch. And I think it'll be 135 to 129. I think the game gets really because you have so many guys in snow games. You're relying on Ryan Tannehill to beat out Josh Allen, and I think if that happens, it'll be 22 to 19 or 20, 22. It's been close.
That's the game Barry wants. He wants Tannehill and Allen to be close.
Yeah, and if that happens, then And let's look at the one more thing. I want to look at the Saturday games from these two guys. Barry's got one Saturday game. Oh, he's got 2. He's got Tyreek Hill and he's got Myles Garrett. And then Hotch has a lot, man. Josh Allen, Jefferson, Cook, Hawkinson, Waddle, Sanders. So, it's pretty obvious. After the Saturday games, we're going to know if Paul's going to win, and we're going to know if Hotch is going to win. If those guys put up, game over. And if they don't, we have ourselves some good first round matchups here, man. This is probably the best slate of first round matchups we have in a while, where we have really good teams playing against each other. I know last year I lost on that Monday night game. I lost my bye and I had to play in the first round. The 3rd seed I played Alex. That Thursday night game was that was it. We closed the book in that matchup after the triple stack dominated on that Thursday night game. So we're not going to see that tonight unless McCaffrey's a 50, and then we can say okay, it's done in that first game. But yeah, I think we're gonna have our hands full. Let me ask you. I'm not gonna give my prediction, but before the playoffs begin, we always do this every year. Who do you have in the championship? Go round by round of your March Madness bracket. Ryan Cobb giving us a bracketology here. What do you got?
Give you the championship game.
Go round by round, and who do you got?
All right. Let me pull up your and Stu's teams. I haven't looked at it top to bottom yet.
Jesus.
Teams. Jesus, you guys aren't playing. So let's and just to clear. So Stu plays the winner of Adam Paul. You play the winner of
Hotch and Barry.
So I had Hotch and Paul advancing. So we would have Paul against Stu, which is a great game. And then Hotch against Dash, which is a great game.
You mean Adam and Stu? You had Adam over Paul.
No, I chose Paul.
You chose Paul? I thought you had Adam. Oh,
I chose Paul.
Never mind.
So I great game. And then Hotch versus Dash, great game on paper and behind the scenes. Man. This is good. I'll go Stu versus Paul first. And I'm gonna give Stu. Stu's gonna go back. I've been picking Stu all year, picked him preseason, picked him the majority of the weeks. And I was only wrong, I think, once on his on picking Stu. So Stu's making that run of the championship. And then we got Dash versus Hotch. And I have Dash winning that one.
Wow.
I have I think just on paper. Well, one, Hotch going against Barry, then Dash is funny because I think that's just those are probably the two people that Hotch does not want to lose to the most. So the fact that he could lose one of those would be hilarious. And then I'd like to go back to see how often the top two seeds played each other recently, because I mean it didn't happen last year. I think it happened.
Yeah, it did.
I played Hotch. Hotch wasn't the 2 seed.
Hotch became a 2 seed because I lost. I missed that kick dropped me out of the first round.
Oh, he was 2 seed going into the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the year before that, I think we were the top 2 seeds.
Yep.
And then the year before that, I don't think was right. But I think
it's pretty.
Were you and Roden top 2 seeds?
I think so.
So that's 1s and 2s have been representing in the playoffs, and that's historically speaking. I mean, I got to follow that. So I'm gonna have Dash versus Stu in the championship. I'm supposed to give my predicted winner.
Yeah, because it's bracketology here, dude. Copy bracket.
Give me Stu.
Wow.
Season favorite. I've been riding. Maybe I'm just trying to butter him up because he's back in town.
He's back.
And well, we'll see. That's my bracketology for right now. It could be completely wrong, just because of how close these teams are. I could have gotten every single pick wrong right there. But that's the beauty of it.
Is the beauty of it. You're right. And for those who don't know, Stu's back. He's back. So look at the first round matchups. Though, one more thing I wanted to point out. Adam and Paul only played each other once this year. Barry and Hodge only played each other once this year. Adam beat Paul in the only matchup they played, and Barry beat Hodge in the only matchup they played against each other this year. So it's interesting one right there for those two. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And you're right. Hodge doesn't want to play against either one of us for different reasons. One, he doesn't want to lose to Barry for whatever reason that is, and he doesn't want to lose to me for another reason. So it's going to be interesting to see. And having a lot of Saturday games and I'll tell you what, for me last year, having so many guys in that Thursday night game, I thought I was going to lose just because I had so many guys in that first matchup. But then all of a sudden my guys went on a tear. I won that matchup by a lot. And then the next round I played against the Cincinnati Bengals stack and got fucked big time. But
Me too.
yeah, they went on that tear, and then Hodge blew it up. But Hodge is looking good this year. But yeah, so we got Cobb's bracket there, so that'll be it. It's unfortunate that we had to put away the Pancake King song, so there's none of that right now. We won't have that for a while. But to go over the records, so the based on the seedings, we have our. Let me go to this real fast, just so you guys know who's going to be the top picks in this year's draft. Before, obviously, if we do a lottery thing situation, but for right now, we're going to go over our top 6 picks. Here we go. Here, shit, where the hell is this? Oh my god. Oh, there you go. All right, so Roden, our Pancake King, is the first pick. Alex is the second pick. Cobb is the third pick. Ruben is the fourth pick. And Zach Taylor is the 5th pick. And Tasia rounded up with the 6th pick. I believe Tasia gets the same pick as he had last year with CP's pick. Wasn't CP the 6th pick?
I think so.
Oh, my God. That's brutal. But at least this year he has a legitimate team with that 6th pick. Last year he had a horrible team with the 6th pick. So, that just made no sense. But all right, guys, well, that does it for us. We wish everybody good luck in the first round of the playoffs. I will say happy holidays. We'll do that next week because, we'll have a show before the holidays begin. So, and again, Stu's back, if you guys didn't know. So Stu is back, and it's key. So we'll see you guys next week, and good luck to everybody.